Nesbitt. One-touch pass down low for Lane. Back in front for Nesbitt. He shoots and scores! Nesbitt shoots in front, Jam for deflection. Rebound. Lane shoots and scores! Fun, affordable family entertainment, exciting hockey, and much more. You don't want to miss a second of Atlanta Gladiators professional hockey at the Infinite Energy Arena. For tickets and more info, visit atlantagladiators.com.
Gladiator, 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 pick the fight with the gods, I'm the giant slayer.
Welcome to the Power Play on Business Radio X.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Power Play presented by the Atlanta Gladiators. My name is Anthony Schaaf, the Director of Corporate Development for the Gladiators and your host today. For those of you new to the show, let me tell you a little bit about the Gladiators and the show itself. The Atlanta Gladiators offer a truly unique environment for spending time with your friends, family, and coworkers. Founded in 2003, the Gladiators play in the ECHL's Eastern Conference at the 11,355-seat Infinite Energy Arena and are the official affiliate of the Eastern Conference champion Boston Bruins. Our mission is to create fans for life by providing a memorable entertainment experience with great professional hockey on the ice and by building a stronger community through our youth programs, fundraising, and community outreach off the ice. Visit www.atlantagladiators.com to learn more about Atlanta's only professional hockey team. The Power Play is the Gladiators' monthly radio show here on Business Radio X, where we talk with local business leaders, our partners, along with a few others about their businesses and what they do with the Gladiators. So, enough about the Gladiators and enough about the radio show. Let's jump right in and let me introduce my first guest today, Al Simon, the owner and founder of Simon Inc., an authorized Sandler training center serving the metro Atlanta area. Al, welcome.
Thank you, Anthony. Good to be here.
Al, I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that you're a graduate of Georgia Tech. With football season rapidly approaching, how closely do you follow the program, and how do you feel about their chances this season with their new coach?
New coach, new offense, new defense, new coaching staff, new quarterback. Their best players are freshmen. What do you think?
It's hard to tell in this type of environment. You just never know.
I think 2 years from now we're going to have good stuff going on. I think this year is going to be tough.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay. That's what we like to hear. I know a lot of folks that listen are Georgia Tech or that other team down the road fans, so we want to make sure that we represent equally, but we want you all to come out and be Gladiator fans. That ties into my next question for you as it relates to what you do and your business, Sandler Training. So you mentioned that, it's a new team, it's a new coach, it's a new offense, it's a new defense. A lot of businesses have that problem sometimes too. They come in or they start up or they bring in new employees that have learned ways to do something over the course of their careers. Explain to me what Simon Inc. does, the Sandler Training Method, and how that could help a business or an individual in their goals at their business and company.
Yeah, it's a great question, Anthony. I mean, businesses struggle with sales in all areas, and one of the biggest things is, do we even have the right people selling? It's an inexact science in many ways. Especially these days with the low unemployment out there, it's hard to find people, much less good people, and so a lot of times companies are settling for folks that just don't have the skill set to really thrive in sales. So the first thing that we do for our clients is we help them find, onboard the right people, and that's difficult. Secondly, they've got to be able to prospect. They've got to be able to go find new business, and they've got to be able to grow existing business. That takes skills as well, and we train and coach on skill sets to do those things, as well as systems, processes to get that kind of stuff done. And then also the sales managers often don't know how to coach their people to success. They don't usually get trained on how to coach their people to success. We do that as well. And then there's qualifying the deal and making sure that you're only proposing, quoting solutions to those folks that are truly qualified to get your good information. And then there's closing the deal. And then there's closing the deal without having to discount to get that deal, to protect gross profit margins. And we work on all those areas with our clients.
I'm glad you mentioned some of the processes about how you go through this. With the advent of technology, such as computers, the internet, individuals and businesses can find selling tips online 24 hours a day. You just mentioned some of the processes. You got to prospect, you got to make the cold call, you got to close the deal.
Yes.
How has the advent of that technology, whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be Zoom Info, whether it be XYZ company sales process. How has that affected your business, being doing it for the last 25 years, and what makes you stand out from the competition?
So, there's been a saying for a long time in sales that if you believe cold calls will work, or if you believe cold calls don't work, you're right. You've probably heard that before.
I have.
But the fact is, the metrics show that decision makers these days, they don't answer their phone if they don't know who's calling. And they don't typically even these days listen to the voicemail, much less return it. And they get hundreds. The average decision maker gets hundreds of emails per day. There's just a lot of noise. So prospecting is more difficult than it's ever been. And it's a big challenge for our clients. And we spend a lot of time working on those kinds of things. Identifying the target market, identifying who within the target market are the right people to talk to, and identifying how best to reach them. LinkedIn helps a bunch, but it's still not the holy grail. It's very important to business today, but it's still not going to get people to return your calls, return your emails to get the conversation started. But social media is more important today than it ever was. Cold calling still an important activity for most of our clients these days, but also cold emailing is an important part. And networking, you got to go out there, you got to meet people, you got to talk to people, and that's often more effective as well. So it just depends on the business, their target market, where you find them, how do you get them. It's difficult.
It is difficult, and I'm glad you mentioned cold calling.
Yeah.
I've been doing this job for a few years. To this day, I still hate cold calling. It drives me nuts. You mentioned it. You can leave 100 voicemails, and you may get one call back. Cold emailing, I think that's even crazier because you got to make sure you find the right kind of words to get to the right individual. But on the cold calling as a whole, a couple months ago, you wrote an article titled "Cold Calling is Not Selling Activity," and it starts with the following: ask salespeople to list their least favorite selling activities, and you can count on prospecting being at the top of the list. And the least favorite of all prospecting activities is unquestionably making cold calls. Can you dive into that a little deeper for me and let me know how Simon Inc. and Sandler Training can assist individuals and businesses and how to effectively market their message and maybe change the mindset among their employees?
Yeah, great question. That there's two aspects that make prospecting difficult. One you already mentioned, which is what do you say? What do when you get someone on the phone, what do you say? When you engage with anybody on LinkedIn, how do you open up that conversation and get them to want to know more? But the most important part really isn't the messaging. The most important part is probably the mindset of the cold caller, because you said you hated cold calling. I did too. I still do. And the person who says they love cold calling probably hasn't made enough of them. I mean, seriously. I mean, who looks forward to that, right? So, but if your mindset is, I'm looking for some golden nuggets in a sea of hay, and it's going to take me a while to sift through all that, but I'm going to find them, and I'm going to put up with the hang-ups and the no returns and the people saying, mean things to me because I called them in the middle of something or whatever. If I'm going to put up with all of that, that's okay. I can handle it. There aren't many people who can truly handle it from a mental standpoint, a mindset standpoint. And that's the hard part. We say that when we work with people on their cold calling mindset, we open up their brains and rewire their neurons because it's really all about what is your approach mentally to this task, and then so that you can handle the sea of rejection, really. And then, but I mean, this, Anthony. When you get someone to engage with you on a cold call, it's such a high, right? There's no high in sales better than that, other than maybe closing a deal. Seriously, am I right?
You are 100% correct. I like the fact that, and when I do my cold calls for what I do, I never, probably the first minute or two of the conversation, I never talk about the product. I try to engage the person on the other end of the line about who they are and try to gain insight, because then that will direct me in the way, okay, do they want this? Do they want that? Do they want something else? Or maybe that'll help me tell me that maybe now's not the right time and I need to follow up back later. So that connection, as you mentioned, is what's in key.
Yeah, that's
important.
Good stuff. And so many salespeople don't know how to do that, and so they start their sentences with "I'd love to," show you how we can save you money, or I'd like to get on your calendar, or can I get some of your time? And what's common about all those phrases is the word I. And it's not about you. It's about the person you're talking to and how do you get them engaged. And the only way to get them engaged is by talking about what they want to talk about. And so you've really got to change the approach. So change the mindset, change the approach, good things will start happening.
Perfect. Yeah, and I just wanted to follow up on that. It's just that when I started in my sales career, I was hey, this is Anthony with XYZ company, and I'd love to tell you about this. Do you have some time to hear about it? Well, as I learned later on down the line, that is the worst way ever to start a phone call. Now it's just, I introduce myself. Sometimes, I tell them what my role is. Sometimes I don't. But usually, it's just, hey, this is Anthony with the Atlanta Gladiators, and I wanted to just see how your day is going, or wanted to see something, but make it personable. And I think that's what, and I could be wrong, I think that's what a lot of people that do cold calling don't maybe necessarily grasp, is you have to make the call personable. Once you make the call personable, the questions and the flow of the conversation will work itself out, and hopefully you end up with a sale or setting a meeting or whatnot. But if you don't start off trying to make it personable, then all you're doing is going through the motions.
Yeah, well, that's why the article you mentioned says that cold calling is not a selling activity, because the whole objective of cold calling is to get the appointment. And how are you going to get the appointment unless you get someone's attention? And so what you're talking about is what we call the pattern interrupt. Don't do what everybody else does on sales calls. I'd love to do this. I want to do that. I'd like to show you this. Don't do that stuff. Change the pattern. Even if it's a little bit weird, people get intrigued. So there's great things out there and great ways to do pattern interrupts. But you know what, Anthony? I'm pretty sure my prospects don't wake up in the morning going, I wonder what Al Simon would love to have me do today.
You never know. Some of them might.
I don't think I've ever found that person.
Okay, perfect. But one of the things I wanted to ask you too is, if I'm a small business owner, or I'm a large business owner, or I'm a sales manager, sales director, and I'm having trouble with my sales team, and I'm like, I've done my research. I've seen all these different sales techniques.
Yeah.
When I call you up at Simon Inc. and say, hey, Al, what can you do for me? What do you say to that person to say, hey, you know what? Here's how I can help. Here's why I can help, to have them come in and take your training. Yeah,
we're actually doing a workshop on that at the Gwinnett Chamber here coming up later this month. But what you do to get people's attention, from a cold call, cold email, any kind of a networking, any kind of a first time, what I call the first time approach, is you use what we call pain statements. In other words, if you think about what are the things that you get your clients to accomplish, what are the problems that you take out of their lives, and you make your approach about that. For example, I would say to a prospect, Anthony, typically our clients came to us because, first of all, they were worried about where is the revenue going to come from next quarter, because that pipeline is way too thin. Others have a decent enough pipeline, but came to us because they weren't closing enough deals and perplexed as to why that was going on. Still others are closing deals, but frustrated because every time they close a deal, they feel like they have to discount to win it because they've got, competition that's aggressive or whatever. A lot of times it's because they don't believe in their own value prop. That's another story for another show, I guess. But you say, let me stop right there, Anthony. Any of these things that I've mentioned probably don't touch a nerve with you, do they? And now you can tell me, is your pipeline too thin? Are you not closing enough deals? Are you closing but having a discount every time? Or none of the above? I don't care which it is. I mean, seriously, I can't care. That's that mindset part. I can't care whether you hit on one of my pain statements or whether you tell me, you know what, we're good there. Doesn't matter. It's because my mindset is what we call the 5 SWs. You ready? Some will, some won't. So what? Stop whining. Start working. Who's next on the list? Let's go.
Outstanding. I've never heard the 5 SWs. I'll have to put them in my log and make notes out of time. That might be a new game in the office that we try the next couple of weeks. Like, hey, after you make a call, tell me if you heard one of the 5 SWs, and then at the end of the week, we'll see who has the most in what category, and then we can adjust accordingly, or come out and visit. So,
Yeah.
I think all of this is great information, and I think too many people maybe in today's marketplace think they have the right answer or they are the subject matter expert. It's an interesting thing. I read a couple articles in the last few weeks, and one sales representative, and it kind of hits home because as the Gladiators, we are a pro sports franchise. One of the sales articles talked about how you have to sell to get people out. You have to make sure you have the calling down right and the emailing down right too, because you got to be able to sell the ticket. You have to make it personable with the individual, because that's when it gets somebody to buy the ticket. And the other person wrote, it's not about buying a ticket. It's about how do you get that person that's sitting in front of their couch in front of a 52-inch TV to come out to the game. Don't make it about whatever. Make it about the experience. So
Yes.
It was two highly regarded salespeople that I read these articles from, and they had two totally different mindsets on the same problem: declining attendance at sporting events.
Yeah.
One says you got to sell tickets. The other one's like, nope, you got to make a great experience, because the experience itself will sell the tickets. So
Yes.
I think it's funny, and I think that's where kind of what we've learned today. The folks out there listening can say, you know what? I have some questions about my selling and my calling and my sales team, and hopefully, they reach out to you. And if they wanted to reach out, what's the best way they can do that?
What you're describing is the fact that there are different ways people engage, different ways their brains get their attention caught. Some people are visual, but so they make decisions and they process the world by what they see. Others are auditory, so they process information by what they hear. And others are kinesthetic, and they make buying decisions based on what they feel. Those are the people you got to get out there to have the experience. Those kinesthetics, they love the experience. And by the way, the Atlanta Gladiators is an experience, right? It is not even close to what you can see on TV. When you're there, the energy, you can actually see the puck. You can see all the players and where they go. And like TV is almost like looking through a tube, right, at the same thing. So, yeah, so engage the kinesthetics with the experience, but engage the auditories with a great description of the excitement. And engage the visuals with things that are visual, like video clips or pictures of the action, things like that. And because each person is going to buy for their own reasons. And our job as sales professionals is to find out with each person we talk to, what is their reason for wanting to do this.
Yeah.
And it's all different.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the excitement of an Atlanta Gladiators game. We actually have a few things that we'll be announcing here over the next few weeks. Just yesterday alone, we made a big change. This will be the Gladiators' 17th season here in the Atlanta marketplace when we kick off on October 18th. And for those first 16 years, we had the garnet and gold and black color scheme.
Yep.
If you follow us or see us on any of our digital media, yesterday we made a dramatic announcement. We, for the first time in team history, have rebranded or reimaged, so to speak. We have new team colors. We have a navy, a yellow, a gold, and then a third color to be named later.
Okay.
That you'll see. We've also kind of redid our primary and secondary logos. So it's some big changes there that you'll see, and we'll have a few more announcements on that over the next couple of weeks. And then when you talk about the excitement of being at the game in person, we're going to incorporate some things that you haven't seen in the past that you mentioned. You can see the puck on the ice, and there's
Yes.
this and that. But
Such a fast game. You have to be there in person.
exactly, we're going to have some stuff that's going to it's going to tickle your senses. We're gonna make sure you see it, you hear it, you feel it. You can reach out and touch it. And that's what we're all about. And it's great that we have folks like you that come out and support the Gladiators, folks like you that support the community here. And just say, and I can't remember if you touched on it or not, but I would love for our listeners to be able to contact you about using your services. And if what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Okay, our website is probably the best way, and it's simoninc.sandler.com.
All right, perfect. If you guys didn't catch that, that's Simon Inc. So SIMONINC Sandler, SANDLER.com. Well, Al, I thank you for your time today here on the Power Play. Look forward to potentially working with you in the next few weeks, and hopefully the things you talked about today appeal to some of our listeners, and they'll be working with you as well. So once again, thank you for your time,
You're welcome.
Have a great afternoon.
Appreciate it.
So that was Al Simon from Simon Inc., a certified Sandler training business. And so now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to bring on Nate Moyer, who is a ticket sales rep with the Atlanta Gladiators. One of the big initiatives this year for the Gladiators is to expand our community footprint. I mentioned earlier that the way the Gladiators want to incorporate into the Atlanta metro community is through not only our play on the ice, but our extracurriculars, so to speak, off the ice. And one of those ways we do that is by engaging in the community. So Nate's here to talk about a partnership that we announced a couple of days ago with Fathers Incorporated. So Nate, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. How are you today, Anthony?
I'm doing quite well. So, Nate, as I mentioned to the fine folks out there, we recently agreed or announced a partnership with Fathers Incorporated. So, a couple of things first. Tell me a little bit about Fathers Inc., and then about the partnership we've developed or going to develop with them.
Of course. Fathers Incorporated is truly an incredible organization. They're based just up the street in Dunwoody, outside in the Atlanta metro area. And their goal as an organization is to pour into the lives of local fathers in the community so that they can in turn pour into the lives of their own family. And they have several different initiatives in which they achieve these goals, one of which is called the Real Dads Read program. And what that does is it gives dads a way to reach their kids and connect on a deeper level, and also work with their kids on their own literacy. So not only is it working on connecting with dads and building relationships with their kids, but it's also giving a way for the dads to work on literacy with their kids as well. So that is one way that they are pouring into the lives of dads. Another way is through the Atlanta Fatherhood Network. This is their online community of dads in the Atlanta metro area. They reach several thousand dads, which is just mind-boggling to me, in the Atlanta metro area. And there's a lot of free resources that dads can access, and then they can take those resources and apply them to their own lives. And again, with the goal being pouring into the fathers' lives so that they can pour back into the families' lives. And then another incredible way that they're reaching out into the community is through what they call the Million Father March. So they're spearheading this Million Father March, which will take place on September 27th. And the goal of this is to promote fatherhood engagement by inviting dads across the nation to take their children to school, which is a fantastic way to create a space for fathers to be more involved in their children's lives. So just by creating a time, whether it's 10 to 30 minutes, just on a little car ride to school, it creates a space for these dads to dive into that relationship with their kids. So these are just a couple of ways that Fathers Incorporated is really pouring into the community, and everything that Kenneth Braswell, he's the CEO of the organization, and their team is doing is not only inspiring here in the Atlanta metro area, but truly inspiring across the country. So it's a no-brainer for us as an organization to want to get involved in what they're doing.
Yeah, you mentioned this march, and I don't know if you said it or not, but they're based in Dunwoody, and they're starting to expand nationwide. How many cities is the march scheduled to take place in currently?
So currently it's over 40 cities. And again, we're at the beginning of August, and the march isn't until the end of September, and they're expecting close to 100 cities to get involved with this.
And all folks have to do is basically, it's just like you said, carve out a niche of time for a father and a son, or a father and his two sons, or however many he has in his family, just to talk about stuff, I guess. Is that kind of the main goal of the organization, is to connect fathers with their sons, and talk about things that may not be available to them outside of other places?
Yeah, that's definitely one of their major goals is to be able to reconnect dads in the lives of their kids and also in the lives of their entire family. And so that's one of their biggest goals is to really create this organizational space for these dads to be able to reconnect with their kids and get back involved with the busyness of life and everything that's going on. In today's society, it's definitely a challenge for dads to be involved. So what Fathers Incorporated is looking to do is to promote that and to inspire dads to want to be involved in their kids' lives.
So with that being said, how can organizations or businesses that are listening to us today, how can they get involved?
Yeah, so one of the biggest parts of our partnership that we're working on is going to be on November 23rd. We're partnering with Fathers Incorporated and putting on an event at a Gladiators game. It will take place, obviously, at the Infinite Energy Arena. It will be a home game for us. And the Atlanta Gladiators will come together with Fathers Incorporated for this exciting evening to invite dads to bring their families out for an inexpensive way to create lasting memories. The two organizations are also working to secure local donors for fathers and their families within the Fathers Incorporated network to be able to enjoy a night of hockey at no cost. So for those of you that are listening, there's two different ways that you can get involved, whether that is by coming out to the event itself. One of the great things that we're going to be doing is doing a fundraiser in which a portion of the proceeds from ticket sales that night will be going back to Fathers Incorporated. So if you're looking to get involved, you can come out on November 23rd, and a portion of your tickets will go back to Fathers Incorporated and to help them achieve their mission and their goals within the community. But if that doesn't work, another way that you can get involved as well is by donating tickets so that we can bring out some of these dads and their families from within the Fathers Incorporated network.
And if somebody wanted to donate tickets to the event, what's the best way for them to do that? Is it to go through the Fathers Incorporated website? Is it to contact the Atlanta Gladiators? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Definitely. If you were to reach out to our front office and give us a call or go online at www.atlantagladiators.com. There will be ways in which that you guys can get involved through those ways.
Perfect. Yeah, and just to follow up a little bit on what Nate is talking about with this organization, we do this multiple times throughout the year with a lot of our community partners. We actually have a program that we have had partnered with the Gwinnett Community Bank for many years now called the Community Organization of the Game. And what this program does, it allows these nonprofits, 501c3s or community organizations to come out, showcase who they are and what they do within the community. But it also gives local businesses and local individuals the opportunity to donate tickets to them so they can, as Nate said, bring out more folks to experience Atlanta Gladiators hockey. So if that's something that interests you or you want some more information, like Nate said, please contact the Atlanta Gladiators front office at 770-497-5100. Again, that number is 770-497-5100, or you can send us an email to hockey@atlantagladiators.com. That's hockey@atlantagladiators.com. So with that being said, I want to thank Al Simon again from Simon Inc. for being here today, as well as Nate Moyer from the Atlanta Gladiators organization for coming out and talking about the Fathers Incorporated event. And I think, once again, before we go, Al, do you have anything else you'd like to say to the fine folks out there?
No, but I'm going to check out Fathers Inc. That's a great organization, sounds like. Perfect.
Nate, anything else before we go?
Yeah, we just have a lot of exciting things going on down at the Infinite Energy Arena this upcoming season, and would love to have you guys come out.
All right. Once again, Nate, Al, again, thanks for your time. I am Anthony Schaaf, the Director of Corporate Development for the Atlanta Gladiators, and that's another successful Power Play.
Gladiator, 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 pick the fight with the gods, I'm the giant slayer.
Thank you for listening to the Power Play here on Business Radio X. Now be sure to check out the Atlanta Gladiators schedule on atlantagladiators.com.